We're going to talk briefly about Russian suprematism and constructivism. Was the name given by the Russian artist Kazimir Malevich to the abstract art that he developed in 1913, characterized by basic geometric forms. We have circles, squares, lines, and rectangles, and painted in a very limited range of primary colors, including black and white. Malevich published called The Non-Objective World, which was a very important theoretical document in abstract art, and he wrote in the year 1913, trying to desperately to free art from the dead weight of the real world, I took refuge in the form of the square. So he created these intense shapes. The suprematist square included triangles, rectangles, and circles, usually floating in the background. And seeing the color in the space was a crucial aspect to the suprematist movement. So this was the big thing of modern art in Russia, and this was also related to the revolution. So Stalin was rising in power in 1924 and imposed socialist realism. After Stalin's rise, his career sort of started to lack in vitality. Malevich wound up passing away in 1935, and he began, right before his death, to paint more realist pictures. And we'll also be talking about the artist L. Lissitzky, who met him and was influenced by the suprematism, as well as Laszlo Moholy-Nagy. The name suprematism came from his reference to the supremacy of pure feeling in creative art. So he thought that the abstract form could form emotions, and this image called airplane flying was not actually meant to bear representation to an airplane. It was merely supposed to be an abstract form. And much like the Gestalt movement, these works of art were very utopian in nature. By Vladimir Tatlin, called Monument to the Third International. Tatlin was central to the birth of Russian constructivism, and he was very much influenced by Pablo Picasso's Cubist art, as well as Russian Futurism. And this work of art is sort of emerged between architecture and sculpture. He was originally an icon painter, but he started to concentrate on different materials instead of working so much with things that would be necessary to create a pictorial image. So he started working with metal, glass, wood, and he wanted to create more sense of modernism in art. He was really bent on combining art and technology together, which was another goal of the utopian ideals of the time. And anyone who continued with the utopian movement sort of saw this as an inspiration. So for him, art wasn't merely representational, but also functional. Another thing to note was that he believed that the materials used for a piece should sort of be suited towards the piece itself. So the things that it looked like it should be built out of were what the piece was actually built of. For example, he wasn't going to build something that was a large structure that was not structurally sound. He wasn't going to build anything out of paper. He was going to use materials as strong as necessary to create the artwork that he represented. So this piece here is sometimes referred to as Tatlin's Tower, and this is what he is most well known for. This was definitely something that really kickstarted the constructivist movement. This was not ever fully built, but it was meant to act as a conference space. It was supposed to be for the Communist Third International. It's supposed to be a propaganda center, and it's 1,300 feet, So at the time, this was extremely tall. This was meant to be regarded more highly by the aesthetic of the constructivists than, for example, the Eiffel Tower. So there were three glass units. There was a cube, cylinder, and cone, and this would rotate once a year and once a month and day, respectively. So these were definitely materials that he saw as being current, and they really represented the age of the machines. And again, we're seeing lots of geometry and basic shapes here. Al Liszewski, it's called Beat the Whites with the Red Wedge, and it is a lithographic poster. This is a propaganda poster from 1920. And the artist is known as the man through whose exertions rather, the new Russian ideas became generally understood in Western Europe. So we're seeing this intrusion of the red triangle into the white circle, which is created through negative space, and the red is supposed to symbolize the Bolsheviks from the Bolsheviks revolution, and this is showing them defeating their opponents and working their way in during the Russian Civil War. So this is part of the suprematist art movement. And this image gained its popularity when Liszewski moved to Germany in 1921. So this is sort of a Western representation of the Russian Civil War. Though it looks very abstract, it is actually, in fact, telling a story. This is by Alexander Rodchenko, Lenin Corner. This was a part of the Workers' Club that Rodchenko had designed for one of the Soviet exhibits at the Exposition Internationale des Arts Décoratifs et Industriels Modernes in Paris in 1925. So his spare and geometric designs for the Workers' Club kind of symbolized hygienic, rationality, and the economy. And the ideology was very revolutionary by giving leisureliness to workers, but also reconceiving leisure as active and collective rather than as passive and solitary. So this the components of this serve to educate workers through the most up-to-date information technologies, and this design had a communal table that could be either laid flat or inclined for different activities like reading or playing chess, and the collapsible structure against the wall combined to form a rostrum for the speaker, and there was a blank screen for projected slogans and signs, and an expandable screen for illustrative material. So this image is of the Lenin Corner that was transformed into a memorial to be a tribute to Lenin's goals of worker literacy and participation in the political and social life. Gustav Klotzis created posters for promoting the Russian Olympics, and these were called Spartakiada. So these were photo montages that sort of created a three-dimensional space with their layering with the different elements of a line and rectangles and squares. Although they were flat themselves, you get the sense of them kind of existing in space. We got the same red and white colors, almost a grayish background. And the thing about this poster is that your eye doesn't settle onto any one particular part. Your eyes kind of keep moving throughout and sort of take in all the images. You're not directed towards any one way to view it, and it's kind of built on a grid as well. And this poster is very Dadaist. You can see by the orientation of the text, like right here. to Dadaism is the the very busy sense of the athleticism. There's a very vibrant energy to the piece, and also noteworthy is the prominence of a female figure in the top right corner. This was part of the communist mentality that women were equal to men during this time, so there wasn't any particular highlight to only masculine figures.